What's going on today, guys? All right, so this is my tree philodendron. Honestly, guys, they have like 2 or 3 different names between this plant, and I'm just ready to see what it's gonna do because these now are the leaves that I'm starting to get versus these were the leaves I had before. So again, this plant was bought with no ID, bought it from a big box store. It just had philodendron on it. So I still have to learn exactly what kind it is. It's falling in the lines of if you was to Google a philodendron hope, it's in that gene somewhere. So we're just gonna see. But I can give you the care needs for this plant. Even though I don't know what it is exactly, I know what it needs and it's been doing pretty good. When I bought this plant though, from the big box store, it was straight up and I realized that this plant was gonna have to climb on something. Now, the part that I did very stupidly was I cut the plant and I placed the board in the wrong position. I should have had this part right here against here so it can climb on. Instead, I gave the board to the piece that I cut and hoping that when the new shoot came out, it was going to be able to grow against this board on up. Well, a new shoot came out, but it came out all the way over here and not back here. So I definitely misjudged that. So at some point in time, I am going to probably have to repot this plant. But for right now, it's not in a need. And the way I feel about plants is if you don't need to adjust it, leave it alone. Leave it alone. So let's just talk about what this plant is getting. This plant is getting food fed in this water every watering. It only gets watered once every 3 weeks, maybe once a month, if that. This plant does have its own window in which it just looks out of every day. It does not receive direct sunlight at all. It does get bright light, and depending on what time of the day with the sun rising and sun lowering, it does get some bright light at some point in time. But this window faces towards another house, which blocks that light. So the little bit of light that it gets is just the gateway that's in between the houses. It does not need a grow light. As you can see, it does perfectly fine. You could place this room in any place that just has a window or something, kind of place it by, and it would do fine. Philodendrons are known to do good in low light. Doesn't mean that it's optimal, but it means that it can grow. Now, I'm not saying I can't put a grow light on top of this plant and maybe it could start fenestrating a little bit faster than down here. All I'm saying is that it's not a need for it. The plant, to me, seems to grow pretty big. I didn't even realize how big it had spread it since I did the repot until I picked it up about a month ago. I was like, oh my goodness, this plant's getting big. You know how you see a plant and you never notice that it's growing until you have to move it or do something kind of different. And you're like, oh, this is different. So that was the case with this. This plant gets fertilized once a year, although I do need to fertilize this plant at least twice a year. So the plan is next month, at the end of March or the beginning of April, I'm going to fertilize all my plants, and then I'm going to fertilize them again at the end of July, beginning of August. That way I can make sure that all the plants at least got fertilized twice a year. Now, I don't know how that's going to work with some of the plants that I kind of repotted with fertilizer. I'm just assuming that a little extra fertilizer isn't going to kill them. I do use a specific type of fertilizer. It's an all natural. It's called Bios. I'll definitely show you what it is. I can show you now. Right here, this is it. This is the fertilizer that I use. I'm actually going to go ahead and get ready to buy some more because this bag will feed up to 100 6-inch pots. It's about like down here, and clearly I have plants that are bigger than 6 inches around here. So I am gonna have to get some more. So good thing that I showed that to you. I don't get sponsored off of them, but y'all know if it works for me, I'm gonna make sure it works for y'all. So that's gonna be something good that I can get my plants into a guaranteed 2 fertilizations a year. And I'm hoping again though, with the few plants that I did put fertilizer in when I did repot them a couple of months ago, they should be good for another fertilizer. I'm not worried about it. Plant is not susceptible to getting any type of pest. I mean, of course, standard philodendrons, usually the most you have to worry about with a philodendron is going to be mealybugs. And that's because you're going to buy plants from other places and they might come in contact with each other. But I've never had a plant to just develop a sickness out of nowhere. Usually my plants just die from 2 things, either not having enough water or having too much water, you know, if it's pest that's not related. This plant right here though is not an expensive plant. I bought this one for $29 from a big box store. Now, if I was to go into a mom and pop nursery and saw a plant this size, I would say $79 to $99 would be a reasonable price for this plant. Although online you can get this plant for like 14 or 20 bucks, you know, you can. It's just this size, no, you're not going to get this online. And the type of plant is not a rare plant. So again, this is going to be your emotion part connected to it. This is not a plant worth $99 buying from a store at face value. However, to you, it may be. If I walked into the mom and pop nursery and walked into the mom and pop nursery right now and saw this plant and I've never bought it again, whatever price they was asking for, I would think it would be reasonable. Because I'm just that invested into the plant. Because I love a big plant. That's just me. This is a plant that you are going to need to have some type of stake or something for it to grow on, because it does get to just be very heavy. And again, if I can get this plant or get this wood plank or however way, maybe I could wiggle it over. If I can get this on here, it would give this a lot of confidence. This plant area roots would attach to this plank and this plant would probably just grow 2 times bigger than what it is right now and faster. Not going to say bigger, I'm just going to say grow 2 times faster if it has something to support it on. As it with most plants, they like to feel that support. We as humans, you have support, you usually grow a little bit faster, right? So with that being said, though, that's all I got for you today on the tree philodendron, also known as the narrow tree philodendron or the philodendron hope, or whatever it is that you want to find for this philodendron, but I'm going to name it the tree philodendron. With that being said, just remember that when you're growing with Sean, there's always something to learn.